Good evening. Welcome to the City of Sugar Land City Council meeting for Tuesday, April the 4th. Item number 2, closed executive session. Section 551071, consultation with the attorney for the purpose of consultation with the city attorney to receive legal advice on pending or contemplated litigation or on attorney-client privileged information. At this time, we're going to go ahead and we're going to recess into executive session in the council dining room, and we will be back when we're finished. Good evening. We're going to go ahead and reconvene the city council meeting for the city of Sugar Land. At this time, we're going to invite some folks down to do the pledge of the nation's flag and the pledge of the Texas flag. And I'd like to introduce our special guest tonight, Miss Stacy Brown, our principal. Stacy, if you'd come down. Miss Laura Yarrow, and she's the fourth grade ELAR social studies teacher and the sponsor. And then the names of the students. You want to do that?
All right, come on down as I call your name. Joel Cito, Otis Ukpai, Hayden Collins, Abigail Gala. Come on down, don't be afraid, come on. Come on down. Abigail Gala, Parker Dunn, Cruz Prudencio, Holden Leslie, Clara Joyner, Riley Miller, Matthias Tavares, Hayden Leslie, Colby Joyner, Olivia Hannon, Anton Yunez, Paola Ferreira, Zoe Robinson, Sally Aragon, and last but not least, Lily Perez. Come on down. I'm going to start with the prayer. Will you please join me in prayer? Please rise. Dear God, as we gather here today, let me start by saying thank you. Thank you for all the many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of good health, and for friendship. God, we ask that you keep all of our men and women in our armed forces, our police, fire, EMS safe and out of harm's way. As we enter into the spring months, we ask that your guidance always stays with us at all times. Please guide our entire city council and our staff as we continue to work for the betterment of all of our citizens first and foremost. We ask that you continue to guide us along the right path and keep us under your protection and grace. In your name we pray, amen. You boys and girls ready? Hayden, we're going to face the nation's flag there.
All right. The Pledge of Allegiance of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Council, if you guys would come very good. We'll get a picture with everybody. We're going to move on now to public comment. Anybody that would like to speak on one of the agenda items is free to do so at this time. If you'll come down, tell us your name, your address, and what item you'd like to speak on. Anybody? Don't everybody rush at one time. We're going to go ahead and move on to item number 3, the consent agenda. Item number 4, the consent agenda. We'll take them as one motion unless the council member wants to pull anyone. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Got a motion by McCutcheon. I got a second by Kamali. You vote this time, please. Can't write fast enough. Oop. Hand vote, please. Any opposed? 7-0. Thank you, council members. Item number 5, contracts and agreements. 5A, consideration of an action on authorization of an agreement between the City of Sugar Land and DPEG Imperial LP in the amount of $3,632,278 for the purchase of and closing costs for 6.88 acres of property adjacent to Constellation Field and authorization of a budget amendment in the amount of $3,632,278 from the Sugar Land 4B Corporation. We have with us Jess Hubble, our Senior Development Manager. Jess.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So this is the area of land we'll be discussing this evening. This is 6.8 acres. It lies between Constellation Field and the Overture, right along Imperial Boulevard. You'll hear me? Sorry.
There we go.
There's been a change of ownership in the land out there, so we were presented an opportunity to potentially purchase this. So we wanted to bring it up to you guys to discuss. So again, opportunity to buy this parcel of land and also kind of control our destiny around our destination venue there, Constellation Field, as it does lie adjacent. This lot has been used for temporary parking for Constellation Field for many years, for large-scale events that they've had, and also baseball games that have the higher occupancies. We've actually had a temporary parking agreement for this lot for quite some time. And as you know, our AAA team, it just continues to increase in popularity. When they have rehab players, we definitely use this lot quite a bit. So it definitely makes sense in our mind to consider owning it. In the interim, this would be used for short-term parking, and then long-term opportunities would be future development opportunities or kind of whatever comes before us. But again, being it's adjacent to our destination venue, we thought it was a good opportunity to bring forward. So the negotiated amount was $3.5 million, which is around $12 per square foot. Staff took a funding request and budget amendment of $3.632 million to the SL4B board on March 29th for approval, which was approved. Please note that this cost does include the purchase price plus the estimated 1% closing costs. And then I also want to remind everybody that 4B was the funding source that was used for Constellation Field back when it was created. The city put forth $30 million secured to the stadium, and then it was $6 million of private equity. And then when the Astros came on board, we committed another $10 million. That would be for fan amenity improvements, stadium improvements that were done by the Astros, which they have already done. So we're paying that back over 5 years, which they have already completed all of those upgrades about 3 years early. So because there is a approval of the budget amendment as one of the actions tonight, here's a snippet of the budget for y'all to view. So the second column shows the current budget amount and the ending fund balance at SL4B. We have $12.5 million. The third column shows the land acquisition cost of the $3.6 million, and that would leave us with approximately $8.96 million in our ending fund balance. And then just to note, this would be a CIP project to track all of the funding for the acquisition. And so with that, staff recommends approval of the agreement between the City of Sugar Land and DPEG Imperial LP in the amount of $3,632,278 for the purchase of and closing costs for the 6.88 acres of land adjacent to Constellation Field, and authorization of a budget amendment in the amount of $3,632,278 from the Sugar Land 4B Corporation to CIP Project CMU T2305.
Motion approved. Any further discussion? Vote at this time, please. Hand vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And
Thank you.
it passes 6-0. Thank you, council members. Item number 5B, consideration of an action on authorization of an interlocal cooperation agreement between the City of Sugar Land, Texas and Fort Bend County relating to veterinary services and use of veterinary surgical room. And we have with us tonight Dawn Steff, our Director of Environmental and Neighborhood Services. Dawn.
Good evening. I am excited to be here to talk about this interlocal agreement. So as an animal shelter agency, we are required to sterilize any dog or cat that comes through the facility. We currently utilize contracts to perform those surgeries because we don't have the capabilities in-house to do them. So we have various contracts, and so we have to take animals to and from these locations multiple times a week. It could be 2 animals, it could be 10, so it's not efficient. We hired a licensed veterinarian in January of this year, but again, we don't have the equipment at the site to do in-house surgeries. So lucky for us, the Fort Bend County has a surgical suite, but no veterinarian. So we've been talking with them to have an interlocal agreement, and so this agreement would allow us to combine our efforts to provide both those surgeries and emergency surgeries to both the animals in our care as well as theirs. So what we would be responsible for is transporting our animals to and from their county shelter, provide our licensed veterinarian and a vet tech if their vet tech is off or on vacation. So that's only an as-needed basis. The county will provide on the surgical suite, all of their staff, they will buy all of the supplies, including the drugs, controlled and uncontrolled, and then any medications that are required to perform that surgery. So it would be for sterilization of cats and dogs, as well as if we needed an animal that needed like emergency surgery, we could utilize their suites. We would both have to agree on not only the number and type of animals that are having the surgeries, but also the surgery type. There's no cost to either entity. We just agreed to provide those resources. And the initial term is 5 years, and then we have the option to renew for an additional 5 years if we choose to do so. So with that, the E&S department, we recommend the City Council authorize an interlocal cooperation agreement between the City of Sugar Land and Fort Bend County relating to veterinarian services and use of the veterinary surgical room.
Questions? William.
So I love these animals, just like all of you do. I visited Fort Bend's shelter or services before. I remember a room, maybe their surgical room, unless they've changed it recently, but I don't remember a lot of the equipment, like X-ray stuff. Is this best for the animals? That's my question.
Yes, so
Okay.
it's best for them, it's best for staff as well, because so we can create one day and we can take 20 animals and have them all spayed and neutered, and it's our vet. And so you may not have seen the actual surgical room because that space is tucked away into the back so that the public can't see it. But yeah, I mean, they have all the equipment. They don't have an X-ray machine, so that's completely separate. So it's just a surgical suite and all of the equipment to perform those surgical suites. So
Well,
the anesthesia equipment, the tables, all of the surgical needs.
My quick follow-up to that is I have 100% confidence in you. So if you say it's better, I'm 100% behind that. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Anyone else? Do I have a motion? Got a motion by McCutcheon, second by Lane. Hand vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, we got, and that's a 7-0 vote. Thank you, council members. Item number 6, bond 6A, first and final consideration. Consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land ordinance number 2299, ordinance authorizing the issuance of City of Sugar Land, Texas general obligation bonds, taxable series 2023. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce the B part because Ms. Jennifer Brown, our Director of Fiscal Projects, is going to do one presentation and then we'll take separate actions. Item B is first and final consideration. Consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land ordinance number 2300, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of City of Sugar Land, Texas combination tax and surplus revenue certificates of obligation, taxable series 2023A. Jennifer.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. So this evening, we are here for our final step in the completion of our loan application that we submitted for with the Texas Water Development Board. We applied for this loan last year, and the Water Development Board approved the loan in January of this year. This is for the Covington Woods Drainage Improvements Project that was included in the fiscal year 23 CIP. It is a zero interest 30-year loan, and with the principal is $4.1 million that will cover construction costs and issuance costs. Back in 2019, we did include this project in the 2019 GO bond election at a cost of $3 million. Since then, we've seen a lot of escalation in construction costs, and the engineer's estimate went up to $4 million. And so we asked the Water Development Board, after we submitted the initial application, if we could increase the amount from $3 million to $4.1, and they agreed. Because we only had $3 million total in GO authorization, and we issued $360,000 in fiscal year 22 for design. We only had $2.64 million remaining out of the GO authorization, so we are supplementing those funds with $1.46 million in certificates of obligation. This will be a taxable issue for IRS purposes, and that allows us to retain any interest that we've earned in the escrow account during construction and not have to give it back to the IRS. There's no additional cost to the city, no additional cost to the Water Development Board, because they are not paying taxes, obviously. So on a zero interest loan, it's a win-win for all of us. So the two issues, like I said, it's $2.64 million out of the GOs, $1.46 million in COs, for a total of $4.1 million. And you all approved a resolution on February 7th to publish the notice of intent. We did that at a $1.5 million amount, with the approval being this evening. The notice was published on February 15th and 22nd, and it was also posted on our website for 45 days prior to tonight's sale. So the next steps is Natalie has the ordinances and the documents for the mayor to sign. Once we have those signed, we will forward those over to the Water Development Board for approval. We are set to close on May 9th. On that date, the funds would be deposited in the escrow account, and we will draw those down as we spend the funds. So we will take an initial drawdown for closing costs on the date of closing, and then we will submit monthly draw requests. And in this case, we're using BOKF NA, which is the Bank of Oklahoma. You may recognize that name. They have been our underwriter in several bond deals. They also provide underwriting and escrow services, so we are going to give them a try and use them rather than our typical Bank of New York escrow and paying agent service. So we'll see. It turned out to be a better deal, lower cost to the city to go ahead and try this new vendor for us. So we'll see how that goes. But our recommended actions tonight are approval of ordinance 2299 for the GO issue of $2.64 million, and ordinance number 2300 for $1.46 million in certificates of obligation. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Question. Stuart?
Jennifer, with all the banking scandal in the news, with the escrow agent, when they hold these funds in escrow, does it become a general obligation of the bank subject to bank liabilities, or is it somehow segregated and protected?
That would probably be a question for Joe or Justin, our financial advisor and bond counsel. I don't want to tell them the wrong thing, so I'll defer to you.
Yes, those funds would be segregated.
Joe, go ahead and identify yourself.
I'm sorry, Mayor, members of council, Joe Morrow, Hilltop Securities.
Okay, then I go ahead and move to approve both.
Okay, we'll take them one at a time. So item number A, which is $2.64 million, we've got a motion by Jacobson, second by Watley. Any other discussion? Hand vote. All in favor? Aye. Aye. 7-0. And Stuart, you're going to make a motion on item B?
Yes, move to approve B.
Jacobson, do I have a second? Second by Watley. Same. Hand vote for aye. Aye. 7-0 vote. Thank you, council members. Thank you, Joe, Jennifer. Moving on to item number 7, City Council City Manager Report. 7A, Councilmember Report. Stuart, let's start with you.
Thank you, Mayor. I had to recover after reading that Carol McCutcheon was named one of Houston's 50 most influential women by Houston Women's Magazine, so I spent a lot of time on my back. But I also made time to attend the Silver Heart Care charity run on Sunday, May 26th, and that is a group of young people, high school students in our area who have put together a 501c3 to help the elderly in our community, and that was very gratifying. And then also, along with Councilmember Watley, we attended the Fort Bend Mayor and Council Members Association, where the mayor, Mayor Larry, cooked barbecue for us, and he won #1 top prize at the rodeo in chicken, and we had some amazing chicken.
Yeah, Mayor Larry Bittner. Yeah.
Mayor Bittner.
Thank you, Stuart. That was enlightening. Jennifer.
On Saturday, I attended the Spark Fest in our town square and with Councilmember Suzanne Watley, and we served on a panel of judges, kind of like a Sugarland Shark Tank for some of our youth that came forth and presented their ideas and their business plans, and it was extremely encouraging to see the youth really paying attention to the mental awareness in our schools and to our planet, and of course to our animals. So it was a very nice time.
William.
Well, Mayor, it's opening season, or baseball season. Sounds like we're going hunting. I don't have a new report, but I do want to talk about, real briefly, the excitement in our city from articles that have been written lately in the Chronicle and everything going on. Our city's on the right track, and I'm so thrilled to be here right now.
Thank you, William. Carol.
Well, we got to watch our very own Space Cowboys play the World Championship Houston Astros last week. That was really, really exciting to get to have that exhibition game here at Constellation Field. And I did want to mention that Councilmember Watley and I rode on the pump track on bicycles, and we issued a challenge to William and Noshad and Stewart to do that too, and we got crickets. And then
I noticed I didn't issue it to the mayor because I
we didn't. We left the mayor out of that. And then I want to thank the city for the fantastic job that they did on the International Art and Kite Festival, and also wanted to mention Councilmember Watley and I did climb the rock wall, so that was pretty exciting. We were pretty.
I missed that.
It was pretty exciting. Well, there's pictures. There's pictures to prove it.
Yeah,
And then,
I want to see it.
as part of the International Women's Day celebration, I was honored by the Telangana American Telugu Association, and that's the national organization associated with the 29th state of India.
The shot.
How do I follow the woman that wins every award in all over the state of Texas?
You just got to up your game. I mean,
yeah, it's hard when you have Stuart and Carol on the same council as you. Last Tuesday, most of us council executive team, a lot of police chief, fire chief attended a iftar dinner. It's the month of Ramadan, and I want to thank everyone that came out. We had a lot of Fort Bend County officials there as well. Because it's the month of Ramadan and I'm Muslim, I attended another one this past Sunday with Mayor of Houston, the largest iftar dinner there. So that's all I have.
Who's that?
Well, thank you, Carol, for filling in and telling everybody what we did and posting pictures. So I think the only thing Carol left out was we went to Reading Between the Wines, benefiting the Fort Bend Literacy Council, where Dominic Saxa spoke, and we had a great time, and everything else, we'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
I'm going to highlight a couple things. I'm going to highlight the Astros and the Space Cowboys, the baseball game, and then the night after that, the Astros hosted the Space Cowboys over at their Minute Maid Park. Also, the Sugarlands Arts Fest was Saturday and Sunday, had a phenomenal turnout. Nancy and I attended on Sunday. Tim Stubenratch, Bridget Young, there were a whole host of volunteers. Tim's mom, Ruth, she was also there. I want to thank all the artists for participating in that. The numbers again this year were off the charts. A little bit cooler on Sunday as opposed to Saturday, but no less a great event. And then Nancy and I also attended the Telfair Iftar, the Telfair Crescent Association. We appreciate our friends over in Telfair and New Territory. And we attended that dinner. And then tonight, we opened the Space Cowboys baseball season, which is the reason for a short council meeting, because the game's going to start at 6:05, and we're going to get the heck out of here after this. Mike.
Mayor, just real quick, starting today, the good folks over in Public Works are doing a temporary conversion from chloramine to free chlorine, which only means you may smell a little bit of difference, may taste a little bit different, but we'll be back to the old system beginning of May and back to the best tasting water in America. This does not affect Greatwood, River Park, or New Territory, but the rest of the city. If you notice it a little bit different, you're right, it is a little bit different. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you, Mike. Motion to adjourn at 5:54.